tonight is, or today, whatever you want to say. For me, anyway, it's February 3rd, 2020. It's Monday. There's some updates in my life that I could bring up, but I'll just, I guess, leave those to another podcast. Well, the same podcast, but another episode or something like that. I still have other things I wanted to talk about, but like I said, let's just keep it brief and talk about what I wanted to talk about. I already read this book beforehand, and as you can see, potentially plenty of notes, I guess. We're just gonna try to go through it all at once, one take, see what happens. Let's get right to it. The book is by Box Brown. It's Cannabis, the Illegalization of Cannabis, or of weed in America, my bad. The Illegalization of Weed in America. Just kind of goes through the history of it. If you want the short version of it, racism, propaganda prevailed, stereotypes. Once again, prevailed. I don't know. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna explain every story that happens. There's plenty of little things that kind of go through this. I'm just kind of like gonna say out. I'm just gonna go through the times where I don't know, put the highlighted, whatever the fuck you want to call these. I don't know what the fuck they're called. I don't know. Notes. I don't fucking know. It's probably definitely a word for it. I just can't think of it right now. The very beginning of the book, it kind of explains. It says no one really can address when it really kind of like who started smoking weed and were just using cannabis in general. But they do explain a little bit of what it can do to a human body, which I think it's pretty it's pretty spot on for the most part. It does argue mostly why it kind of just like the bullshit of it all, but also kind of speaking some truths in that it's not a perfect drug. There are consequences to everything. I don't know if consequences good and bad, because I don't know if necessarily. I don't know. I don't think it should just be something that's simply good or bad. Let's just get right into it. Like I said, the very beginning, and this is a comic book. I'll just hopefully I'll flip to a page that doesn't have. Yeah. Okay. It's a comic book. It's by a guy named Box Brown. This was given to me. I read it already. And second time going through, and maybe I'll probably do this from now on. Probably it is a good idea, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's too many. That probably is too many. I mean, doesn't that? That's 2 papers right there to chop up. So past explaining what it can do, like I'll just, here's a passage. I'm not gonna read too. Oh, you'll see. Okay. Smoke filled their lungs. It passed through sacs with sacs, sacs in the lungs called alveoli. Alveoli. They absorbed a chemical called tetrahydrocannabinol. I know it's THC, but I just want to say it correctly. Tetrahydrocannabinol. Cannabinol. Just seems. I know there's cannabinoids, in which they're gonna go right into that. But anyway, once again for THC, if you didn't already Google this shit and you don't really give a shit to Google it or look it up yourself, tetrahydrocannabinol. Cannabinol. Tetra. Tetra. Hydro. Like hydro pump in Pokemon. HYDRO. And then, like I said, cannabinol. or THC. THC with other chemicals called cannabinoids or CBN travels in the bloodstream to the brain where they interact with a natural chemical called anandamide. ANANDAMIDE. THC and CBN are perfectly matched with anandamide receptors like a lock and key. Once again, these THC and CBN will perfectly match with anandamide receptors like a lock and key. This connection in the brain produced a variety of effects on this cannabis pioneer almost instantly. And then, kind of goes into some things. The receptors are found in the brain and nervous system, but also in the immune system. This reduced any inflammation in their body. Their nausea was alleviated. Their ability to detect pain was dulled, and their mood was elevated, and their sense of creativity was stimulated. Some users can become paranoid. This can be accompanied by hallucinations and other unwanted effects such as disorientation, short-term memory impairment, and even heightened sensitivity to pain. Whatever their experience, it only lasted a few hours. This pioneer slept, their nightmares dulled. Another effect of cannabis. This went on for thousands of years. So, that's just the very beginning. Then they kind of jump to in Hindu mythology. They kind of swing a little bit of that. And if you want to read, once again, if you want to look into that, you can. I'm not going to, once again, I'm not going to totally, give away everything. Because, this took a lot of effort to do. And, I don't know. I'm sure you could potentially even Wikipedia this shit. But, I don't know. Let's move along. Kind of starts off in Bengal, India, 1893. They kind of go backwards a little bit, and then they kind of move forward to specifically America. It's because this all kind of like, it all kind of associates with one another. I guess that's the best word. It all connects. They all connect. Man. So they kind of just talking about Hindu life. Or not Hindu life, Indian life, India, which some people were Hindus, but that doesn't mean anything. Anyway, there was just these followers in which they dedicated their lives to Shiva, which essentially they just smoked weed all the time and just kind of did a bunch of yoga stances or poses. The Indian Hemp Drug Commission, they're kind of not cool with it. And I think they they're trying to get rid of it, or kind of just saying it's, no bueno. Just some propaganda, see if they can come up with some test results, as to why, you shouldn't smoke it or whatever. Some stories, once again, you got that famous monkey testing, thing. I don't think it's the exact same one, but it said 181 total inhalations over 8 months. They forced a rhesus monkey to smoke hemp daily. 181 total inhalations over 8 months. And then they kind of dissected the monkey, and they found that there was nothing wrong. They kind of, go into some other psychological effects that potentially can, you can get from cannabis. I don't know if this is, I don't know, there's some, interesting stuff in it. I don't want to, once again, I'm not going to totally give all of it away. I think eventually they just kind of, okay. The report shows there are no ill effects. Yeah, so no effects, no insanity, no moral failing. That's what no bronchitis. They found none of that to be aligned with it. There's outrage. Based on this report, we suggest no arrest for cultivation or sale. Most importantly, we have the ethical grounds to tax cannabis since it won't harm anyone. And that's 1893 in India. They kind of jump back to 1518. Conquistador Hernan Cortez invaded Mexico to claim it for Spain, and they kind of threw a bunch of fucking hemp seeds into the ground while they were colonizing. And I think that it actually the plant itself, I think, turned okay. I because I know there's there's indica sativa, and there's actually one other kind of plant, but that one's it's like the tiniest plant. It literally doesn't grow that big. It doesn't give off too much. I just can't remember what the hell it's called. But they kind of explain some of the things that were used for hemp, or what that hemp was made out of, or some of the things that were made out of hemp. Excuse me. Once again, this is 1518 in Spain, kind of introducing the cannabis plant. So once again, I can't. We're gonna get to how India kind of comes in to get to this whole fold, I guess, which is, I do remember later on when they're kind of the whole UN, or I don't know if it's exactly the UN, or they were just trying to globally ban cannabis, and India was kind of like, should we fucking do that? I mean, it's kind of like in our fucking belief system. Anyway, I don't want to jump to, because once again, I don't remember everything I'm fucking talking about, so let's just fucking go along with it. Alright. So at some point, cultivators began to consume the bud, blah, 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 blah. And this is once again 1518 in Mexico. Spaniards are introducing this. And I guess there's already some natural psychedelic plants that I guess the native people already discovered. You got peyote, psilocybin mushrooms. So this is just kind of one more thing. And so they say the first written account of use in Mexico was 1760. And there's a new thing that's called pipiltintili. I don't know the fucking, and it's just hemp, and you eventually, it just essentially, just fucking long story short here, is they start associating hemp and weed and everything as not cool. I think some even eventually associate it as like satanic, homicidal, and yeah, here we are. Yeah, so it kind of gets a bad rep eventually. And people were doing those cure-alls, and I guess cannabis had made its way into New York, as it says right here, blah, blah, blah. The culture of not been adapted. Okay, so it's not into the U.S. yet. It would take the events of the Mexican Revolution to send fleeing Mexican people north with cannabis culture in tow. So the Mexican Revolution, that's when you start to see people starting to bring over cannabis into the U.S., but once again, there's a bad stigma placed around people who smoke weed. Like I said, they're homicidal, maniacal, or Satanists, or they're all three, or all of the above. It was sold in some general stores or pharmacies. It was actually even delivered in the U.S. Postal Service. El Paso, Texas, 1914. There's a giant fight. Officials come in, they find cannabis on the immigrants, and they go, these men here, they're the ones who smoke marijuana. And he says, yes, sir. The Mexicans were all smoking that stuff. So the guy came to no conclusion, or just the conclusion that when they they smoke marijuana. It makes them violent. And once again, yeah, rumors spread around that Mexicans smoke vile weed. It turns people against God. Yeah, it's true. Mexicans will just run up and blow the smoke in your face or worse. They make school kids smoke it. So it just once again, all the like you got all these kind of like once again rumors. There's nothing really factual backing up to it. Just claims essentially. Until eventually one dude in particular fucking like is like the flag runner of the whole entire thing. Yeah. It's so I don't know. It's just yeah, so I guess El Paso became the first city to outlaw cannabis. And then they kind of started. That's fucked up. Like I said, racism kind of occurs from here because once again they kind of align cannabis with Mexicans. So anyone who's smoking it is I don't know. It's fucked up. Yeah, it kind of passes around. Kind of gets among the musicians. They tell some stories of a couple of musicians that kind of get in trouble. Then there's this kind of story, once again, just rumors, kind of, and then like how a white guy got mixed up in having an addiction for marijuana. It's just kind of, just fucking bullshit, like just. So you start seeing like this little like people fucking going like I don't really like associating cannabis as a negative item or material or whatever you want to call it. Fucking yeah. Okay. So 1929, cannabis use had popped up in many cities where Mexican immigrants had found work and settled. Just once again, just a bunch of rumors of people like a bunch of violence and overdose, but there's not none of them are actually proven true. Taking the jobs. Yeah, so then, eventually, it says right here, Mexican immigrants made up most of the United States agriculture labor force. So then there's this kind of mob going like, jobs for Americans. People are like saying that Mexicans are taking all their jobs and smoking all the weed and committing crimes. Americans don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. But then they finally, this is the fucking guy. So, once again, it's riling up, there's people who really just don't, just being fucking straight up racist. Yeah, because, once again, like, I don't know, they probably didn't realize this, but, like, a lot of shit was being built around them from, other people, not them, whether, like, fucking the railroads or... I don't know, it even says here, fucking the agriculture. I don't know, man. So, once again, I'm talking completely out of my ass. I don't even know what I fucking know, so. Which is not much. Okay. So, one of the big guys, this is the flag runner I was talking about, Harry J. Anslinger. And it says in 1930, he was appointed by the U.S. Treasury as the first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He was just kind of given the job by his uncle Andrew, or his wife's uncle, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. So he really didn't give a shit about cannabis at first. But he's getting support of drug companies, making probably a nice dollar or two. just can't remember how it gets into tight ship. Someone needs to produce this stuff. If people heroin, that's too many. Yeah, so I mean, this guy, he's kind of like started with how with heroin. Under new laws, these companies would be the only ones who could make heroin. So I mean, like this guy's, once again, just shaking hands with people so that they, whatever, So it's once again, just lawyers are fucking. I mean, once again, I don't want to be like fucking businessmen, people in the motherfucking what I don't know, business suits. I don't fucking know, in the tuxedo, whatever. I don't know. That's why I don't want to be that kind of. But it's just like once again, like just the exchange of just more potential profit and making it so that other people around them cannot have that chance or are less likely to get that chance. Anyway, just trying to get to when he got to police sexual. Okay, so all right, so I guess eventually one officer in New Orleans tells him about marijuana, and he starts looking more into it. This Harold J. Right, Harold J. Was that a fucking name? Yeah, Harry J. Harry J. Anslinger. Harry J. Anslinger. He reads up some information, kind of just says that, once again, that this is fucking shit's gonna fucking destroy the world, essentially. You gotta fucking watch out. And they kind of cut to some people that did sell some cannabis indica extract, I guess, but like no one ever buys any of it, so they don't know what the big deal is. Jumps cut to one guy who was in the war, and said that he is a weed addict, or used to be a weed addict. He said it would calm his nerves, but by the time he got home, he was a full-blown loco weed reefer addict. He checked into a sanatorium, and was treated for morphine addiction since they don't have a weed treatment, both narcotics, I guess. And he said he was good after 4 months to get before he found a nerve equilibrium. But this book is kind of going like he'd seen the horrors of World War I. Cannabis use was likely therapeutic in the field and in dealing with post-traumatic stress. He diagnosed himself as an addict and was mistreated at the sanatorium. But I mean, Anslinger's only like fucking focusing on the parts where like he's calling himself an addict and whatever. They kind of jumped. They kind of find where I guess some places where you can find weed. I guess a lot of it's I guess like I said in like clubs and with musicians. They start throwing in weed stories like anti-weed, like local weed theft in these newspapers. Jazz musician turned rapist, reefer used as stimulant. God damn it. So you start seeing, the wheels turning. One thing is like the word hashish and the word assassin are both derived from hashishon. Hashish being a term for marijuana, and it has nothing to fucking do with anything. It just keeps getting passed along more and more. There's now a story about in July 6, 1927, a Mexican widow was broke. She and her 4 children were starving. They eat a marijuana plant growing in her garden. By the time the police arrived, the entire family was in total hysterics. The whole family has gone insane beyond recovery. Blah, 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 blah. None will come back from this. Murder. Another story from Denver. A girl was found murdered. The alleged killer being her stepfather, who was Mexican. Because the girl's mother was white, the story made headlines for a week. So yeah, well, I mean, once again, just fucking like racism again. It's just deeply, deeply rooted in racism. Uh, uh, yeah, but apparently, I mean, the guy said that the guy who killed this girl, the girl in Denver. They said, "Do you use marijuana?" He said yes, and they kind of just changed headlines to "Prisoner admits to drug addiction." Uh, and then just but I guess actually he's like, I wasn't high when I did it. I hadn't smoked in 3 days. Would you say you were feeling stressed without it? And he said yes. um, and they wrote down, so ceasing use also causes violence, just like increased use. So I mean, like, literally it's just like, so if you don't use it or if you use it, you're gonna be violent. Okay. They tell more stories, fucking horror stories of people who did this and raped that and fucking did it all because they were fucking on cannabis. By 1927, that's kind of a bunch more states. More states had passed laws banning or limiting cannabis use. Even New York had passed a ban. So I mean, you're starting to really see, like, I mean, kind of reverse of what's happening nowadays. We got about like 38 fucking states or whatever that are legal, or medicinally, or I don't remember the fucking, but it's more than half. But by this point in 1927, which I don't, they had more than, 27, or no, it's a bunch more. So never mind, I'm fucking throwing numbers in there. So that ass slinger dude, he's just kind of going like, we need to fucking, blah blah blah, watch out, do this more, fucking or ban everything, everything's fucking gonna kill you, all drugs, all, everything's gonna kill you. And I guess the states were not passing the Uniform Drug Act that he had made, so Anslinger career was on the line, and he had to rewrite it and sell it. And he kind of says, I guess, I mean, in the comics, says, I'm going to have to use every weapon in my disposal. And once again, he says it has to do it through public opinion. So I guess Anslinger's FBN, I'm not sure, he rewrote the Uniform Drug Act. The new version had 14 pages dedicated to cannabis. The previous version had just one. He then took the bill on a national tour, aided by his many powerful friends in high places. He started at home in D.C. But I mean, once again, he's just going through the nation, just telling of crazy ass stories of like white women getting with black men, and that's how, just watch out, your daughters and your wives are gonna fucking run away with black people or fucking Mexicans or whatever. Just once again, just blatant racist rhetoric bullshit, like just telling more stories. People getting murdered, not knowing. Murderers not knowing that they were murdering or whatever. I mean, just fucking more and more, just fucking. So then you got this. They had this one case of this one guy who was on some kind of hallucinations. I mean, maybe it could have been from marijuana, but the guy also seemed to have some psychological thing. I mean, he said that his family were laughing as they were chopping his arms off, and then they stuck on these like plunger or like. These like iron claws on his hands, really fucking weird ass story. And he thought that he had a funny cartoon axe and ended up killing his entire family. he ended up running away and then killed himself after, fucking getting caught again. I guess actually the guy. So yeah, like I said, as I was saying, this one guy who's under these crazy ass hallucinations, he actually, Victor Licata was a gaunt 21-year-old living in Florida in October 1933. He suffered from early dementia and had a history of psychotic episodes. And then the Anslinger guy, he just added, it's because of marijuana. So he did all that because of marijuana. No real proof in that. I mean, once again, just added in so I guess there's not even had nothing to do with marijuana other than just it's a true story other than adding one little lie. All right. One guy starts smoking a cigarette, gets really fucking angry, violent, starts killing people. There's marijuana addicts in the streets. I mean, this guy's on a radio show or whatever, just fucking, spouting this shit. I mean, he's literally getting, just getting underneath the skin of America and just kind of really instilling a racist tattoo, if that makes any sense. And I mean, a lot of this, he's only doing this because he's, trying to, career-wise, he said reputation. I mean, I don't know if these are directly his words or whatever, but it's, just because I mean, he has nothing better to fucking do other than, I mean, clearly you got to make money in the world. So how are you gonna make money? You fucking throw any kind of, his brand was fucking this, man, telling fucking half-baked stories and racist antics. I mean, I know I'm just saying fucking words right now. Racist. This guy's fucking racist. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he eventually got. I mean, okay. His actions and claims didn't go without pushback. Senator Guffey from Anslinger's home state of Pennsylvania. Say what you will on your own off hours, that's your time, but I will not sit here while he refers to a suspect as a N-word in an official government memo. So this guy, once again, straight up, this guy's fucking just a complete piece of shit. The medical community did push back against the false claims Anslinger was spreading. Dr. Walter Bromberg did his own research of the effects of cannabis. The study was flawed, but his findings contradicted Anslinger's. Okay, subject number 1, illiterate laborer Negro. What the fuck? Subject 1, 2 marijuana cigarettes smoked within 40 minutes. And, the guy's kind of saying, my head is getting bigger and my hands are rounder. Definitely. My head is up here, my skull's over here. Now I see skulls. Oh my god, a pair of legs walked by. Why did legs walk by? Whose legs are those? I mean, personally, I'll say, this is, I tried keeping it non-personal, but I just will say I've never had any kind of hallucinations like that. Never. Anyway, I'm sure, I could say, maybe hearing visualizations or whatever, hearing hallucinations maybe or something. I don't fucking, but never, you know what I mean? I don't know. And if I did, I'd think 1 second later, oh, that's nothing. I don't know. Some people are definitely affected by it differently than others. I'll say that much. But anyway, subject 2 felt euphoric at first, then became weak and dizzy and began to perspire. They asked him, why don't you walk around a little, get your blood pumping? And the guy's like, why don't you kiss my ass? And he's like, 9 a.m. I have to stay here till 10. He's like, how is it still 9 a.m.? Later on, he told me, the Walter Blomberg or whatever doctor, he thought about sex a few times. Oh shit. I guess reported later while Subject 3 was walking home, he would walk slowly in front of oncoming traffic. He tried to walk faster, but his legs wouldn't do it. Dr. Bromberg also had an informant on the inside. Most people in showbiz smoke it. It's all over. Have you seen it make people violent? No. It makes you feel euphoric. It makes you feel euphoric. Dancers like it. Makes them feel lighter. He also says the users experience a feeling of brilliance, and it kind of goes to this one guy who's just kind of fucking saying a bunch of words. Their thoughts forming rapidly, but the ideas are fleeting flights of fancy, quickly forgotten. And the guy's like, "What was I saying?" Which I will say, there's definitely moments of that for sure. So I mean, fucking Anslinger's just fucking doing his shit. He's just trying to. He just really wants cannabis to be fucking illegal. And this is literally once again all based on some officer saying, "Hey man, marijuana in, I don't know, was it New Orleans? I think saying like that shit is got to get checked," and he's fucking threw all of his focus into it. And I guess the deeper and deeper, it's like literally conspiracy shit for him, I guess. And he's like, spread the fucking gospel. So I mean, eventually they kind of, I don't know, fuck, I'm not gonna, hold on one second. Congressional hearings on the Marijuana Tax Act, April 27th, 1937. The legitimate uses of marijuana are so negligible in comparison to its injurious effects. Marijuana corrupts public health and morals in this country. I mean, that's what Anslinger and the one other dude. He ends up befriending another dude. So I mean, he's just trying to fucking weasel his way into this shit. Therefore, we will impose a tax on the production, manufacturing, and transfer of marijuana. The tax on illegitimate transfers would be $100 per ounce. The cost of cannabis in 1937 was 38 cents per pound, which is fucking ridiculous. It is our hope that this tax is exorbitant enough to make this drug prohibitively expensive. He's like, this drug is as old as time. Hammer wrote of it. Talking about violence, murder, children smoking it. I mean, just once again, And when exactly did marijuana come to your attention as a menace? He says, well, it was about 10 years ago. He says, 10 years, and why have you waited so long to inform us? He says, now wait a minute here, hold on. 10 years ago, we just heard about it in the Southwest. It wasn't until 3 years ago that it became a national menace. And 2 years ago, we were forced to report about it to the League of Nations. So I think it's not, I don't think it was the League of Nations. I don't think it was the UN. Excuse me, I just fucking hit the fucking pop filter again. It wasn't the UN, I think, at the time. When we get to it, it was actually League of Nations, as I just said. I'm just adding the clues together for you. I'm a fucking genius. Alright. They kind of show this picture of children all under 21, terrorized Central Ohio, all under the influence of marijuana. One of them quit, but then went insane. Canada's, they completely banned it, and they're kind of looking down on us, going like, why haven't you made a law of this, I guess, yet? I mean, that's what Anslinger's arguing. There's also evidence this drug is being smuggled into China by U.S. sailors, but he didn't present any evidence. Um, blah, 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 blah. And then he kind of just says that more than 50 nations have laws on this. Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, Japan, France, etc. They signed the International Opium Treaty in 1925. We are not signatories. Once again, telling more stories of people, children killing and all that. The Marijuana Tax Act passed in October 1937. And you might have heard this story, but before anyone even knew the laws existed, cops arrested a buyer and a seller. You got Moses Baca, 26, bought 2 joints, and Samuel Caldwell, 58, sold them to him. Which, once again, these are the first 2 examples. Like I said, the judge made an example of them. First 2 people got in trouble for marijuana for the law. Once again, I'll say their names again. I mean, there you got Moses Baca, who was 26, he bought the 2 joints, and Samuel Caldwell, he was 58, who sold them. Baca received 18 months in jail for buying 2 joints. Caldwell received a $1,000 fine and 4 years of hard labor. What the fuck? Just for selling 2 joints, and the other guy buying only 2 joints. And I'm sure there's plenty of other stories within the last 20 or 30 plus years that have been fucking ridiculous beyond belief. And if it were to be legalized, once again, and hopefully all the records expunged, you can at least empty out the fucking prison system just a little bit so that they're not making too much fucking money, because they don't fucking need to make money. The fucking prison systems don't need to make fucking money. They just need to keep it fucking running. But I guess you can argue more shit, but we're not fucking there right now. I'm not going to talk about it. Anyway, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, I only know what I fucking know, which is very little. Because it was that Marijuana Tax Act was passed, they're fucking going all over and trying to get as many people as possible in trouble for it. More propaganda. Fierce anti-prohibitionist mayor of New York, Fiorello LaGuardia was skeptical of Anne Slinger's claims of the new law. He commissioned his own scientific study, which would observe the effects of cannabis on 18 individuals, a cross-section of New York, people from all walks of life. They were administered varying amounts of cannabis, 2 grams, 5 grams, or if they were in the control group, 0 grams. And they kind of go through some of the people that, once again, out of the 18 people that were picked for this study or this group, they kind of have this little city in front of them, like dolls and buildings and whatever, and they just kind of ask them questions like, there are a number of toys in front of you. The doll is you. How now build yourself a home of some kind. And they kind of just show, make yourself single, married, kids, no kids, whatever. Hold on, let me. Just kind of going through that, just, and for the most part, they got, get to this, hold on. They asked the question, let's say your wife here slept with another doll, and one guy's like, I'd hop in my car and take off. Yep, I'm gone. I got this new car, start driving west. Then I'd hop on this train and head straight to the bar car. I'd take this Zeppelin all over the world. I'd end up on the Barbary coast, a drunken derelict. And what about your children? I'd assume my wife's new lover would take care of them. I'd start a new chapter in my life. Another guy said I'd have to consider divorce. But my child, I'd forgive her. These are some people that were under the influence. And they kind of show when someone was or was not under the influence. I kind of have this like little squiggly line with circles, kind of indicating that they're under the influence. And there's some people that clearly are not. Some subjects were asked to build an entire community. Now picture this: someone in this house needs the ambulance. Why do you think they need the ambulance? And someone under the influence is saying probably an accident. Well, someone not under the influence is saying someone was faking it. And another person saying just a hypochondriac. And then there's even someone who was under influence saying just someone pretending to be sick again. So any saloons in your town? He said, sure, right here. What about gambling? She said, and they have one person saying, no, that tears families apart. Gambling deprives wives and children of money. Then when people lose, they resort to crimes like mugging. And she's like, not in my town. What about prostitution? Is that legal here? No. Some people are saying yes. Some people are saying no. Some people are saying yes. So it's kind of an interesting study being done. I want to see if the study revealed that cannabis had no effect on the morality of the subjects, the only exception being that while under the influence of cannabis, the subject was more likely to tolerate cannabis use by others. Also, those under the influence were more likely to grow impatient with the test questions, saying whatever just to get through with it. The study had little to no effects on legislation. They say under the new legislation, 3,000 to 4,000 cannabis sellers per year, along with countless users, would be arrested. The average sentence was 18 months in prison. And once again, the dude's just saying it's a gateway drug. It's that's being introduced. You got Gene Krupa, who claimed he was more drunk of a drunk at the time, was busted with cannabis in 1943. He served a 40-day jail sentence. His black colleagues were not so lucky. So I guess it says Anslinger had it out for jazz. Scary music popularized by blacks, whom he saw was inferior. His fucking words, not mine. Louis Armstrong and drummer Vic Burton shared a joint out behind a Hollywood club. Fuzz pulled up on him, let him finish the show. Armstrong only had to serve 9 days because he was, I guess he's very talented enough. Anslinger constantly harassed this woman, African American woman, Billie Holiday, and she eventually arresting her for narcotics possession while she died of cirrhosis of the liver. So and once again, these stories are being printed in the news and stuff, and people are going it's not fucking cool. In 1952, at Anslinger's continued urging, Rep. Bogg of Louisiana sponsored a bill that would punish drug users further, creating minimum sentences. Just basically you gotta make it fucking even worse. And once again, talking about the whole gateway drug shit again. So there's this one Dr. Harris Isbell of the U.S. Addiction Research Center testifying against the act. He's saying marijuana does not lead to death nor violence of any kind. People use it to relax. Tobacco use is actually much worse for you. Nevertheless, the bill passed and President Truman signed it into law. All drugs would be treated equally, cannabis the same as heroin. The law created mandatory minimum sentences of 2 to 5 years in prison for drug offenses. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Oh, I guess it actually was the United Nations. Okay. United Nations spent years developing a single drug policy. And this is about the time where India is kind of like saying they're all sold on these hemp regulations being written into the document. We can probably get special language where bang is exempt, and that's what they call it, bang in India. But there's a lot of pressure on us to sign this. Even with the exemption for bang, there will be some leeway, but we are going to have to outlaw cannabis in India if we want to take part. We're going to have to sign the bill. We're going to have to sign. The whole world is going to sign. We were able to negotiate a deadline of 25 years to make changes, but at some point we'll have to ratify. Which is kind of foreshadowing, which is what ends up happening. They end up signing. In 1961, the UN signed the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. It would require signatories to place extremely strict regulations on cannabis and other drugs. Meaning the complete elimination of all illegal drugs within 50 years. The UN created a drugs scheduling system. It ranged from restrictive to less restrictive in this order: 4, 1, 2, 3. Schedule 1, the second most restrictive, will produce ill effects. You got opium, cocoa leaves, some synthetic opioids. Schedule 2, less restrictive, requires a doctor's prescription, codeine, and some synthetic opioids. Against expert opinion, cannabis was listed with the most restrictive drugs, those with no therapeutic value. Alcohol would be unscheduled and face no restrictions. Schedule 3, least restrictive, no government authorization required for import/export, low dose codeine and some synthetic opioids. You got Schedule 4, most restrictive, extremely dangerous, only used in research. And you got heroin and some synthetic opioids, cannabis and cannabis resin or hash. Hold on 1 second. I gotta drop one of these. Okay, we're I'm almost fucking done here, so that's good. Hope you've been, enjoying the ride. And despite the laws, cannabis use would increase in the 60s. In 1960, 5,155 people were arrested for cannabis in California. By 1967, that number would balloon to over 37,000. Damn, son. So already in a 7-year period. Damn. Unlike other drugs, more than half of those arrested for cannabis-related crimes were white. There's this one psychologist who was pulled over, and he had some drugs. He had some cannabis on him with his family. They took it up to Larry's case was taken up to the Supreme Court. In this country, we have a law that governs the possession of marijuana. This requires someone, if they wish to possess marijuana, to announce that intent to the government. This would immediately make them a member of a group inherently suspected of criminal activity. This would violate the Fifth Amendment. A person cannot be forced to incriminate oneself. So then Larry won the case. And Congress repealed the Marijuana Tax Act. They immediately replaced it with a harsher set of laws, changing the way the federal government will respond to cannabis. So in 1970, Nixon commissioned a report on cannabis to help inform the Controlled Substance Act. Former governor of Pennsylvania, Raymond Schaefer was appointed to lead the commission. We're toward the end of the research. We'll have a report by March. Let me just say I am very strongly against this talk of legalization that I'm hearing from some. I won't budge on that. he eventually later comes to the conclusion or finds out that in the report that there's actually nothing wrong with it, so he just fucking threw that shit away. Nixon. And once again, more fucking the same old fucking repeat, rewash of the fucking people violence and killing and rape and fucking insanity, all that shit. President Nixon signed the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention Control Act in 1970. And once again, it's just more of that bullshit. Okay. They then eventually label fucking marijuana as one of the most dangerous drugs ever. Harry J. Anslinger retired in 1962 and then ended up dying in 1975. So, like, after the wake, there's a bunch of people that are just getting families getting torn apart and shit. One guy, Bob C. Randall, 1976, was arrested for growing cannabis on his sun porch. He successfully fought the charge, claiming he needed it for his medicine. He's got it for his glaucoma. So, he's like the first, he becomes like the first medicinal cannabis user in America. Blah, blah, blah. Then you got, fucking Reagan, and Reaganomics, or fucking, I don't know, and then you got, Nancy, right? Isn't that, Reagan, blah, 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 yeah. So yeah, you got all that fucking people saying, don't fucking do it. And then they kind of foreshadowed India saying that they got a 25-day kind of wait, but now they kind of really got to fucking make they got to sign some shit. So in 1985, India's government passed the Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substance Act just before the 25-year UN time limit ran out. Like I said. So they signed that shit, but Indian sadhus continue to smoke cannabis regularly in public in defiance of the law. So there's a bunch of if I didn't mention before, there were just some people just smoking weed right out in the streets, and that was kind of the whole reason why this kind of started in the first place, I guess, in India at least in 1893. So just, fucking the war on drugs just fucking getting worse and worse. They get into the AIDS epidemic in 1985 and how marijuana was relieving a lot of patients who had AIDS. Giving them an appetite, allowing them to sleep, not have as much pain. You kind of eventually start incorporating dispensaries around this time. It's just for people who wanted to buy it for their lover, for those who are suffering with AIDS. There's California Proposition 215, and I think that's the one that would exempt medical cannabis from criminal laws and protect doctors who would recommend cannabis. Dennis Perron collected 1.5 million signatures for Prop 215, and it passed with 55% of the vote. And then, that's kind of the first step of it being legalized. And it kind of, it's starting to clean up, saying like, cannabis is a safe and effective drug that many people enjoy the benefits of. There's no reason it should have been prohibited in the first place. What has happened is a tragedy that continues to harm people. It was a bad idea that spread around the world and affected families for multiple generations. Even now, there are those in power spreading ancient debunked claims about cannabis, saying that it is a gateway drug. And that's kind of pretty much it. Just saying, like, hopefully it'll be legalized eventually, or whatever. I don't think they'd say exactly those words. So let me hold on. I guess my camera might have died at the end, so that might be over. But whatever is to come in the future, cannabis will grow and humans will harvest. So that's cannabis, the illegalization of weed in America. I hope that wasn't too boring. I was kind of like going through the book now a third time. Well, technically a second time, really. But thanks for listening. Take care, I guess. Next up will be Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, not Rises. Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Otherwise, take care. I don't know if my camera died or not, but it's probably about that time anyway. So, thanks again.